Hi, I'm Patrick, and this is an introduction to managing your contacts in Traxor. Having said that, Traxor doesn't have contacts. Instead, we have positions, job roles in organizations occupied by people, real human beings. So effectively, we reflect the real world. So let's now look at adding a new contact, or in our case, a new position. Now, the first thing you need to do is enter the name of the person or the organization. In our case, let's enter the person first, and Traxor will immediately look to see if the person already exists in Traxor. Because there is no duplication, if a person exists, you simply occupy the role with them, and if they don't exist, then you need to add them. So Sharon's not there, so I'm going to add her. So now I'm adding a person, not a contact. This is a real human being. Give her a salutation and also gender. The reason we have gender is that in some functions Traxor provides feedback referring to people, so it's nice if we can use he or she rather than unknown. And cell phone number is also typically associated with the person rather than with their job role. And you can also enter other links here that are personally associated, like their Skype ID, Facebook, or LinkedIn. In my case, I happen to know what the LinkedIn link is. So now Sharon is in the position. Next thing we need to do is find the organization. Again, enter the name of the organization if it exists, then you simply select it. But again, I want to add an organization that doesn't exist, so I'm going to enter the name of that. Consulting. Traxor doesn't find it, so I click on the new link, and up pops a window to add the organization. Now, this reference field is purely for your own use and is to help you distinguish between organizations of the same name. For example, Able Consulting could have a number of branches around the country. This just helps you to indicate which one is which. The other use for this is if you want to bulk upload contacts, like for example export them out of Outlook or any other system and bulk import them into Traxor. This reference enables you to indicate where you have multiple contacts in one organization. This is how you indicate to Traxor that it's the same organization, so it won't duplicate the organization. I'm now going to put in a little bit of address information. Select the country. The country defaults to whatever your personal preference is in this case, but you can change it, of course. Okay, and now I'm going to add the position or role that Sharon's performing. While I'm here, we notice the address is linked to Able Consulting. What that means is that if we change the name or change the address details for Able, then all positions associated with Able or that are linked to it will have their address changed, which substantially reduces maintenance. The other thing I'm going to do is give her an email address because it will enable me to demonstrate something to you. Use a generic address so we don't spam people. Okay, so now we have the position, which is, as I said before, analogous to a contact, except that the occupant is separate. And you notice the LinkedIn link pops up because that's associated with Sharon. If we go down the bottom here, we notice in the relationship section, which is a characteristic of all objects in Traxor, has this relationship section which shows what other objects in Traxor they're related to. In this case, this position has just one relationship, and that's with Sharon, who is the occupant. It also shows this case, the history tab is selected, which shows a history of the position occupancies, and of course there's only been one at the moment, and that's Sharon. Now I said I was going to use this email address to demonstrate something, so let's just send Sharon an email. Okay. And now I'm going to view the email. And you'll notice that the email has been related to or linked to Sharon as the recipient, myself as the sender, and it's also been filed with me personally outside of the context of my role. So if I go to any of those three records, I'll see this email. And this demonstrates sort of a common feature of Traxor, that as a matter of course it relates things to whatever they're to do with, so that, or more to the point, where you're likely to go looking for things. So let me just close this, and now what I'm going to do is vacate Sharon out of this position. So let's move time forward a few years. Sharon Sharon's now finished in this role. So rather than delete her, I simply remove her from the position, and it's asking me, do I want to get rid of her email address and cell number, because typically that's associated with the person, not the position. So I'm saying yes. So now the position is vacant, and you notice down in the position, in the history section now, we show the occupancies and the fact that the position is now vacant. It keeps as people come and go in the position, it'll keep a constant thread of that. And in the relationship section, because is now blank, because of course Sharon is no longer there. Now let me just go to this email section, and you notice the email is showing up in the position, but notwithstanding Sharon is no longer in the position, it's still correctly showing that she was in fact the recipient of the email. So you have that context of who was in the role at the time and who was the email specifically to at the time. So now I'm going to put someone else into this position, and I happen to know it's Peter Barron. So now Peter's the mine manager of Boulder Minerals. It could be, it's unlikely of course in this case, that he's going to be a CEO and a mine manager at the same time, but there are many instances where people have multiple role occupancies, for example directors of companies, or people are members of various industry groups or associations. So people can occupy a number of roles. The point is that there is no duplication. The person exists once, and from there they can occupy any number of roles, either concurrently or historically. So and if I wanted to, I could click on this magnifying glass to go off and in fact view the mine manager record and vacate Peter at the same time. So there's absolute minimal amount of keystrokes required here. It's simply a case of mouse clicking, and you never enter a piece of data twice. You enter it once and that's the end of it. From there on you just link. So now let's save that, and it's saying that I'm not going to keep track of the vacancy because it was less than 24 hours. Well, that's fair enough. So now Peter Brown is now the occupant, and you notice that he doesn't have a LinkedIn or Facebook link, so none of those show up. And down in the email section again, it's still showing correctly that Sharon Brown was the person that sent that email. And again in the history section, we now show the sequence of occupancy. If I go to Sharon, again we look in her position, we can see that she used to be the CEO of Able, and that right now she has no position. In fact, she's associated with an organization called the Orphanage. Now you can change the name of that. We use it. It's a little bit of whimsy, but it is an accurate description of what the organization is about. Whenever a person doesn't have a position, then Traxor puts them in an orphanage so they don't get lost. And when the person re-emerges in your organization or another organization, then you simply find them, they go out of the orphanage and occupy the new position, and they bring with them all of their history. So that's how we keep this sort of continuous thread. Of course, if you want to, you can delete people permanently out of the orphanage if that's what you need to do. Finally, again, down in the relationship section, we can see Sharon's historical relationships, which is what the half moon indicates. It's a history that says that she used to be the CEO of Able Consulting. So that when you view any person, you can see what roles they were in. You can easily link to those roles to see who are now the current occupants. So you keep this thread. Again, there's nothing that you consciously have to do here. You just put people in and out of roles and change stuff. It's Traxor just keeps track of all of these links for you. If you don't want to keep track of historical records or historical occupancies, well then you can easily delete them. Finally, let's take a look at searching. You can search on any part of a person's name. Clearly spelled that wrong, so here's Peter Barron again, and you notice that he shows up in both of his positions. And this also shows person reference. We spoke about organization reference when we were adding an organization before. Person reference is a similar function. It tells us that this Peter Barron is the same Peter Barron. If in fact we had two Peter Barrons, then we would give them different numbers. And you notice that it shows the position and organization, and we can click on any of those to go visit them. You can also search on part of the name of the organization, and you can also use combination searches, Peter and Boulder and so on. So it's got extensive search capability. And you can notice also, if you don't find someone, then you can instantly add them here as a new person or new position. Well, that completes this introduction. There'll be another video on more advanced topics. Thank you.